Chapter 11, when I stopped running from myself, my gifts and abilities became my power. I want to sit with you for a moment, not as a spiritual teacher, not as someone with all the answers, but as a woman who has lived through both the light and the shadow of these gifts and abilities. Because the truth is, the times I honored my abilities, my life expanded. Miracles happened. Healing flowed. Prosperity showed up in ways I couldn't explain. But on the contrary, the times I rejected them, the times I tried to bury them, silence them, pretend they didn't exist, that's when my world fell apart. That's when I got into the deepest trouble of my life. And there's something important to know. Hiding your gifts and abilities doesn't protect you. It betrays you. So let me begin by talking about the day that changed everything. I was 11 years old, sitting on my grandmother's stiff floral sofa, my legs stuck to the vinyl, my sister beside me, my mother and grandmother across the room with the pastor. A Southern Baptist preacher had come to visit my grandmother. He was preaching fire, sin, heaven, and hell, but none of that felt good to me except for one thing, because I knew deep in my bones was this: I didn't feel loved, not by my family, not by the world, not even by the God that this man was talking about. You see, I'd been raised in a home where love was present, but not in the way I intuitively longed for. My parents loved me as much as they knew how, but I was hungry for a deeper, truer love, the kind that I now know was divine. I was aware of it and I wanted it. So I looked at that preacher, and in front of everyone, I said, I don't need to hear about heaven or hell. I need to know what love is. I'm not loved. And then I prayed the prayer he offered, not from fear, but from desperation, a longing to feel what I had never been given. And when I woke up the next morning, everything was different. I became a different child. It was as if the old me had passed away overnight. Suddenly, the foods I liked no longer appealed to me. The shows I watched felt strange. Even the clothes I wore seemed foreign. But the biggest shift was inside of me. I began to know things. I knew what my parents were thinking. I could hear their thoughts. I sensed what they were hiding behind their words. I could feel the pain in other children at school. I even knew things about their families they had not even spoken aloud. And then the voice came, a calm, loving voice. I came to call the voice of God. It spoke to me, answered my questions, guided me. I was no longer just a child. I was awake. The first whisper is of telepathic. A few weeks later, I was riding in the car with my family when a song came on the radio. Just a month earlier, I had loved that song, but now it made me sick. I asked the voice, why? And I heard, the energy of the song no longer matches you. You have changed. At 11, I really didn't know what that meant, guys. Then came a new instruction: ask your mom to turn it off. I hesitated. She might get upset. Why would you ask this of me? The voice replied, I'm not asking you to speak out loud. Talk to the back of her head. I didn't know that this was being telepathic, but I trusted it. I looked around the car and I saw my father driving and my mother and my two sisters. Nobody was looking at me, and I put my hand up like this and I whispered from my heart. I moved my lips. Mom, this song bothers me. Please change it. Before my hand even fell back to my lap, she reached forward, switched the station to a beautiful song that came on. It was soft, gentle, and perfect. It was soothing. And I knew energy travels. The heart speaks. Words are not required. It's energy. That was the day that I realized my life would never be normal. I had awakened to something sacred. But as beautiful as that awakening was, there's something I want to share with you. Because knowing what I knew, feeling what I felt, didn't guarantee I'd be met with the love I had wanted, been desperate for, and awakened to. And over time, that absence took a toll on me. In the next chapter, I'll share my journey with you and what happened when the world didn't mirror what I had found within. When I started to believe that maybe I was too much, too sensitive, too strange, too different to be loved. I'll tell you how I made the most dangerous decision in my life to shut it all down, to walk away from the very gifts and abilities that had opened me, and how that decision led me into the darkest valley I've ever walked through, but also how it brought me home again. In the next chapter, I'll take you deeper into what happens when we disconnect from our divine design and what it takes to return to it. Because while disowning my abilities led me into the darkest place I've ever known, reclaiming them brought me into the most miraculous, abundant season of my life. And if it's possible for me, it's possible for you too.